Always a pleasure to have Bishop Tyson come in and spend some time with us. One of the wonderful things about the Bishop, the laundry list, too long to mention them all here, sir, but your willingness to come in to the newsroom.
Well, did I see you on your knees praying for the Mariners here in the studio this morning?
A little bit, yeah.
How far are they out from the wild card?
We need a special ceremony to do later on.
Exactly.
But thanks for being here. Yeah. We know that the church is taking a very big interest in the DACA program, and you're involved in all of that. And we've talked to you a little bit about that in the past, so thanks for coming back in. And Lance, you kind of set this thing up, so I'm going to step aside and go breathe some smoke.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, Bishop, I guess first of all, tell us how you feel about the announcement, and where do we go from here?
Well, obviously, I think it's tragic that we are putting young people in front of this as if they're human shields in a political battle. We have had administration after administration from both political parties fail to address immigration. So I can certainly sympathize with this with the question of the executive order of President Barack Obama. It's not good to tinker with the Constitution in order to keep young people in this country. But you might remember it was a Senator Barack Obama that torpedoed the compromise between Senator John McCain and Senator Edward Kennedy back in 2010. So I'm just saying there's lots of difficulties all the way around. That said, if we're really interested in getting Congress to act, I don't think we need to use young people to do this. Young people have complied massively, with some 800,000, with the request to register to be part of the Deferred Action Program. They've turned their records over. So this is really, in a certain sense, a lack of due process for undocumented youth. That's why we're so strongly resisting this particular strategy. I don't think it's good with the kids in the middle of the conflict that the adults can't get on the same page.
Yeah, I hear that. The average age being 26, I think. Do you think that the characterization of these folks as kids adds to the empathy factor when the average age is well past 18 and the age of responsibility at this point?
Well, I think there's a spectrum of ages, so that would be the top end of this. And remember, we've been tinkering with DACA for a number of years, so many of these were underage, and you had to be accompanied as an underage minor to this country. I mean, again, it's not good policy to hold youth responsible for the difficulty of the adults. And that being said, wherever we went with DACA, and I'm just repeating what I said the last time I was here, we need a comprehensive immigration reform because all of these kids have parents, So how does this work, especially with the underage youth that are still with DACA? Who is looking after the kids? I had a confirmation out in Quincy, and mom had gone back to Mexico to deal with an alien parent. Dad had been deported, and now the child's living with the aunt. See, this is deeper than just DACA. It's family separation. Obviously, I have a pretty deep interest in this. 75% of the diocese is Hispanic, and most of our people go to Mass in Spanish, so this has deep impact. Rare is there a family on the Spanish-speaking side that's somewhere either in the immediate or extended family that there isn't some kind of immigration issue. So, I just think that this is not where we need to be. I don't think it's good to put the kids in front of this.
Where does the debate need to be?
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like you said, we've played at trying to come up with something agreeable, immigration reform-wise, and we haven't been able to accomplish it. President Obama was asked repeatedly, why don't you just do this on your own? And he said he couldn't, and finally did, and the court said, you were right the first time, Mr. President, you couldn't. So the reason he did was because Congress wasn't prepared then to do it. There was either the plan wasn't there, the will wasn't there, interest wasn't there, or people were too busy tacking on horse trade maneuvers or whatever. So he wound up doing it himself. And I guess you know, I know there's an awful lot of criticism of President Trump for this. I kind of see it like he comes in and there it is, DACA written on the white board with a question mark next to it, and underneath it's a phone number for the federal judge that said, you know, DAPA is not constitutional, we assume this will be the same. So he basically erases that board and says we got a clean slate here. Now the country is right by the Constitution. What are we going to do about this issue, Congress? It's your job. It was your job originally. Why don't you get on this and let's get going? We've got fear now. We've got kids that are nervous again. This is, whether you're pressured by that or not, it is in fact putting us back on track for rule of law and on track for opportunity to do the right thing, whatever you folks determine that to be.
Well, that's an interesting phrase, and I think we all want to see a rule of law. But DACA was establishing a legal pathway, and now the constitutionality was questioned. We've had not one rule, but many rules, and again, I've gone back there before. I mean, let me just give you an example. I have two seminarians studying in Rome. Both are bilingual. Cesar came here when he was 16. He crossed the border illegally, and he has a record. And so he self-deported 10 years ago. If I would have kept him here, he would have qualified for DACA. I mean, so it's like, which law, which year are we going to follow? Now, that's my experience with one seminarian.
Sure.
This is what the employers experience. This is what our people experience. Second seminarian, his dad was here legally, working. That would be Jesus Mariscal. He's also studying in Rome. He himself, as a dependent, that particular line, if you're a dependent applying for a visa and your parent is a citizen, it's a 15-year wait. It took 15 years to get him legalized. That is where the difficulty is. We can talk all we want about rule of law, but there is not a rational, consistent, normal law. I mean, John Kelly, the Homeland Security person who's now in the White House, it was interesting in his confirmation hearing, he said this. He said, the immigration law is as complex, if not more complex, than the IRS tax code. See, that's the difficulty. Sure, we need to follow the rule of law, but it needs to be rational.
Well, don't disagree at all, and I think that might have been an overstatement on his part. Page 5,000 of the tax code. But the point is this: we do need to get it fixed. There shouldn't be a 15-year wait. A lot of people have waited those 15 years. Were they precluded from being in America during that time? I don't know that they are. They're just not citizens yet. And the other point about someone who would choose to self-deport. The problem is that the DACA, which we had been covered under, the President himself said this is a temporary fix, and the reason he said that is because he probably saw the clock ticking on the court, as he, Mr. Constitutional expert, know that this was an unauthorized overreach. So he knew it wasn't the final solution, and it's a renewable scenario. So in essence, it's like renewing every couple of years on your way towards that 15-year completion, only we didn't have a completion for this part of the program. It's like we authorized something that wasn't legal, and we were continuing, you know, I mean, so the bottom line is, with all of that's now theoretically swept away. What can we do? What would get Republicans and Democrats to work together to find a way to allow these people to become legal and incorporated into American life once and for all, not have to worry about any sort of future whatever? What kind of moving of chess pieces could we do to make that right? Because I think keeping them here is the right thing, as long as it's a pure legislative fix that does the right things for the right reasons.
And that doesn't tinker with the Constitution. Yeah,
exactly.
I think you're right there. Here's a couple pathways. First, I mean, and I've laid that out before, the bishops of the United States, we've articulated 5 principles for immigration reform. And a couple of them are really taken, they're not taken, they were already articulated in 2004, but it's interesting to hear the Republican Party, uplift some of these principles. And some of the principles have been uplifted by the Democratic Party. So I think if they look at secure borders, the right for people to be treated with dignity, the right to have families unified. If they just look at some of these principles, that might guide them into some kind of bipartisan effort. Here's the second thing that doesn't get publicized, but we've been talking a lot among ourselves. You know, in the case of Cesar, who self-deported, his grandfather was a bursero. They came up here during World War II because our boys were in Europe fighting, and we needed somebody to get food on the table. His dad was a bracero. These folks were here legally. He came up with his uncle and basically worked without documents in the same area as his family because of the shifting laws. I realize that maybe central Pennsylvania doesn't want immigration. Is there a way, similar to Canada, to look at the state's capacity for immigration? In other words, have consistent security of who comes and goes in the country. That needs to be a federal responsibility.
Right.
But rather than the federal government setting all of these quotas for H-2A visas, I mean, again, there's 12,000 in Washington State, and it takes 100,000 even in the harvest. I mean, this is like the Soviet Union doing the planned economy.
Exactly.
Maybe we need to really think through, and I don't hear this debated much.
It's
We're
interesting.
talking about it, but maybe we need to let the states figure out on
good
a
point.
local level what they need. Because, you know, we're in a unique situation with agriculture. It's quite different from a Rust Belt state.
And John Kasich this morning said, let them come to Ohio. We will make the dreamers
Right.
welcome. We'll, you know, we know what they contribute to America and its culture and economy, and his state, as long as he's in charge, is very welcoming to this idea. I agree with you. Those states that have need for whatever the skill sets are that they have need for, they ought to be able to bring those people into their states. If it's ag workers, fine. If it's tech workers, fine. Whatever
Right.
it is, they should
Right.
be able to put square pegs in square holes, you know? Move it around.
Interestingly, it's counterintuitive, but we were just running our internal numbers from our researcher at the Washington State Catholic Conference. Do you know where the largest number of immigrants came from Washington State last year?
Asia?
India.
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 High tech.
High tech, yeah.
Do you know that the largest number of undocumented are not Mexicans? They're folks from other countries. See, I think what we also have to do is really drill down on the numbers and on the facts and make really solid data-driven decisions about how we do immigration. I mean, I think it's a reasonable proposal that's on the table, I think, from the President Trump's administration around merit-based immigration. That's not a bad idea, as long as it's not competitive for, you know, families to be united. When those are set up competitive, that's not a good thing.
And it kind of is the way that they laid it out.
Yeah, but you know, maybe the second pathway, and if you know, if John Kasich's proposal gets stronger on the table, that would be good, because we're all driven by national media, that we're all watching 24/7 national news channels. These kind of more local solutions, I think it's well. That's why, again, I said this before. I appreciate the fact that we've got a local program locally in Yakima, and we're talking about this on a local level. That's what keeps getting missed. You know, when I talked to Doc Hastings a number of years ago before he retired, just a great congressman, he talked about this very thing. He said, you know, really, Yakima Valley, Imperial Valley, some places in the Carolinas, and up in Michigan, these are the places in the country that are very, very highly integrated with Mexico and labor. Well, isn't there a way to let the states do this? I think that's the pathway forward a lot of us are not talking about, and we need to.
I think you need to make a presentation to a joint session of Congress. That's what I think.
That's right.
Well, the next time, the next time the Holy Father comes, I won't be in the studio like I was with you guys last time. I'll be there helping him
There
with
you
his
go.
talk.
That's right. KIT News Time is 8:27. If you've been joining us, hey, we've been talking to Bishop Joseph Tyson about the DACA program. How would you have liked to have seen the president or the administration handle it if you believe that this wasn't the right way?
I think it would have been better to reverse this and say, here's the proposal, Congress, that I think needs to happen. And, you know, hold on, don't put the kids in front of it with a threat. I mean, if the president has a clear idea that he wants Congress to act, he can send a bill down there. That would have been, I think, a better pathway, given where we're at. Now, again, he's inherited a mess, honestly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, you know, I don't think his particular policies have helped the immigration system in terms of the collapsing of categories around deportation and this type of thing. I think the other interesting internal number, though, that is coming out right now that is not widely reported is if our internal projections are correct, Donald Trump will have deported fewer people in his first year as president than President Barack Obama did in his last year as president. Now, I think there's a lot of factors, meaning, you know, a presidency in transition and a lot of, you know, I mean, just getting his cabinet filled has been a journey and a half. But I don't think, you know, at least President Obama, it came to a place where he prioritized the deportation of criminals. Donald Trump eliminated that. President Trump eliminated those categories. I think some of these things have not helped the tone. But I also know he has inherited a serious difficulty with immigration that goes back across Democrats and Republicans, across many administrations.
However, a bill with his name on it saying, Congress, can we deal this? Probably doesn't go too far either, given the fact it's his name on it. I guess I would like to see, instead of our Attorney General and our Governor writing letters attacking the President, I'd like to see their submission for solution for Washington State. I would like a lot of the hyperbole and the attack on this, Gutierrez out of Illinois, and those people to stand down and offer up solutions that we could start talking about.
Well, we do need solutions, but again, I think where the governors general are coming from, who are doing this, is due process for our young people. That's, you know, they have complied with DACA. Now, it isn't quite the same because they're not citizens, but, you know, we have simply changed the rules without a due process. I think that's the line of thinking that we're getting from our own Attorney General.
Right, but then the other side of that is due process on a system change that was an illegal system to begin with, right? So what's the due process to that?
We all like to go to confession, and can we do that on an open mic?
That's right. I've got a few things I'd like to tell you about, Bishop, but we're going to run out of time.
Is it commercial time?
Before that happens. It's only a 3-hour show, sir. Do we want to go a few more minutes, Lance? You get more? You want to? We can. Fox News can wait in the wings, and we'll finish our time here with Bishop Tyson. You guys have a listening session. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, again, my primary focus is pastoral care. This is a time of great fear. So, Father Felipe Polito, the pastor of St. Joseph in Yakima, he and I are going to be doing a forum Monday evening at 6 o'clock at St. Joseph's, just to hear from our young people and their families and see how that we can accompany them. This is somewhat tied. The Holy Father, as you know, this has been a signature concern of his. I mean, just the other day, Pope Francis mentioned that national security cannot block us from being compassionate to migrants. Now, I think he's talking about Europe there. But we want to hear from him, from our young people. I'll be going to Rome with Father Felipe the following week, and I'll be personally presenting the comments of our young people in a little written statement when I have the audience of the Holy Father during our pilgrimage. Again, we're ordaining those 2 men in Rome
as
transitional deacons.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Then I'm doing a second one at St. Joseph in Kennewick, Father Tomas Vasquez and myself. That's going to be at 7 o'clock at St. Joseph in Kennewick. I've got one Thursday evening in Wenatchee, or East Wenatchee. I'm not sure where that's landing. I'm firming that up. But this coming Monday night is the one here in the Yakima area that we want to just hear from young people. Figure out how can we accompany them spiritually, what kind of spiritual and pastoral support can we give them during this type of uncertainty. And of course, we'll have information as well. I mean, it's pretty straightforward what our young folks need to do. They need to kind of stay into the DACA process, renew their work visas as much as they can. Obviously, with work visas expiring as soon as March 8th, it's going to be a real time of uncertainty.
Well, like you said, even though the rules are changing and the rules may not have been right to be placed in the first place, all they know are those rules, and at least follow through, continue to demonstrate your fidelity to the process that you were given. and that's you're questioning its security now, but play by the rules, and then ask the government to keep that in mind as they try to reset the rules that everybody can play by. So.
You know, if I had to do a shout out, it would be out to the mayor of Grandview. I met with him about 2 years ago. We were doing a house blessing of some homes, sweat equity homes, where we work with people and build homes. And he had thanked me for being there, thanked Catholic Charities Yakima for really working. And it was wild. He started talking about how much he loved watching poker on TV. And I thought, well, this could be even more boring than golf, huh? And went on. And he said, you know, I was watching the interview of the poker champ of the world. And what makes a good poker player? You can't read the cards. That's illegal. Is it psychology? Is it, you know, what is it that makes a good poker player? The mayor said this. He said, the guy said, you play the hand you're dealt. And then he circled back to me and pivoted and said, we really appreciate you helping us play the hand we're dealt. I thought, what a great mayor. And I think that's what we're all about here in the Yakima Valley. We're just trying to, you know, with integrity, play the hand we're dealt. And of course, that's what I'm saying to young people. This is the hand you're dealt. These were the set of rules you were asked to follow through. And we're going to walk with you. You're not alone. We're going to pray with you. We're going to do our utmost to advocate for you, both as a church and with our public policy leaders across the country. I'm one of 6 bishops in the country that coordinates our public policy and immigration. And as you know, the national press release that came out was myself and 3 other bishops, Cardinal Bernardo, the president of the conference, the vice president of the conference, Archbishop Gomez, Bishop Jose, Bishop Joe Vasquez, who chairs immigration, and myself. I'm the chair for the Pastoral Care of Migrants and Refugees at USCCB. So we're really on a national level really trying to reach out as well.
Have you heard from any young people? I mean, have they talked to you? Have they called you?
Well, I mean, we're talking all the time. I mean, I would say 90% of my confirmations in the Diocese of Yakima are in the Hispanic community, so this has kind of always been a conversation. Obviously, this story just broke yesterday, so I haven't, you know.
Sure.
I was talking to all of you in the media yesterday for the most
right.
part. But yeah, you know, I mean, this has been an ongoing topic with young people.
Well, I would say this, again.
They might be listening over at KFFM right now.
They might be.
There.
It's not going to help anybody to have people lining streets of America saying no Trump, no KK, no fascist USA. That's not going to help, and that's some of what was quoted as being said in Yakima yesterday. We need positive solutions. We need to get working on the compromise that will A, secure these kids, and then B, secure the border, and C, start to bring sanity to a process that shouldn't take 15 years.
And I would just add that D, that really acknowledges the local communities, the local states,
I think
and
you're
the
right.
local states' needs. I think that's a newer idea on the table. It's something we've talked about internally. But I would hope that public policy people and folks like yourself who really are in touch with, the local radio, which is such a gift in the Valley, it's just critical that we talk about this on a local level and not leave it up to either the Fox News channel or MSNBC to determine or to form the national policy.
Joint session of Congress, sir. Joint session of Congress. That's what we need, Lance Stormy.
I agree.
We need this gentleman in front of those
We'd be
clouds.
well represented, believe
we
me.
would.
And lots of prayer, especially for the Mariners.
Yeah, really.
And let's not forget about that 3-hour confession for the morning news.
That's right. That's right.
Bishop Tyson, thank you for your time,
Thank
sir.
you. It's great to be with you guys as always.
We send prayers your way for the work that you have to do,
Thank you.
and all the people that are going to be
Appreciate it.
depending on you for strength and support in the days to come. Hopefully the calm, cool, reasonable heads that America has will rise up and come up with a solution.
Great. And invite me back again, and I'll be back again to talk some more.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it as
God
always.
bless.